Hi guys, so today I thought we'd take a little trip. This past weekend I went to Salt Lake City and I took a travel's notebook with me, so I thought we would just kind of do kind of a review of that trip. So here I'm just showing you my bag that I took, and it ended up with a couple of little extra things that someone put in the pockets for me to take there, some little special things. And then I'm just showing you here we're on our way to JFK Airport. So you have to go on a kind of train, and then you get to the airport, and there's all these kind of different installations about, and you thought you knew New York, and they kind of show you that you can go skiing and rock climbing and hot air balloons and all that kind of stuff. So when we got to the airport, we found out that the flight was going to be delayed for an hour. And that was, fine. Then we got on the plane, and it was we ended up sort of circling the airport for another 3.5 hours. There were weather conditions. We had a medical emergency. A lady had some chest pain, so we had to go back to the, airport, and then we had to refuel at one stage. So it kind of started to become like quite a a fairly small trip. It was like I think 5 hours on the plane, ended up being like 8.5, 9 hours, and the airport seats can be not very comfortable at that stage. So actually that was when I started to be thankful for the traveller's notebook, and I pulled it out because I wasn't sure if I was going to use it or not, but I ended up being able to use it quite a lot because we had quite a few delays. So here I think we'll just talk a little bit about what I took and the setup. So I do have another video about how I made this travel's notebook, and I just made it with some leather from Peggy Sue also, and I have sort of placed 2 pieces of leather back to back and glued them just down the sides and along the bottom in kind of like an L shape, and then left room for the actual elastics and everything. I'm just showing you through what I have in it here. So I have kind of a dashboard that I made with a New Testament in there, and then I have another insert which is just blank paper for notes or sketching, and I have a piece of silk organza around that, embroidered silk organza. And then here I have like a palette. It's just an old palette that I found that I thought I would take, and I just put a sort of cardboard dashboard around that. And then I have a couple of pieces of watercolor paper that I tore up, and then in the middle of that I have used the Daniel Smith dot cards to create like a little palette. So I cut all those up and then just picked the colors that I wanted and just popped those in there. So you'll see kind of throughout the video how I used that. And then there's just an extra little palette I made just in case there was children or someone that I needed to share that with. So I took the extra little palette, and I think it's always nice to sort of come prepared with a backup. And so here I'm just showing you, this is the Faber-Castell, I think it's a deluxe one. Then we have the Aquash, the Pentel Aquash, and then a couple of lead pencils there. So I took a spare pencil and a spare paintbrush as well, just in case for anyone. And then the paintbrush that I like the most is actually the Faber-Castell deluxe one. Even though I'm not really a fan of holding the plastic, it doesn't feel that nice, but I didn't mind the bristles and the way that kind of painted, just for this kind of being in a pinch and needing to use something. So I just got that Faber-Castell one and the Pentel off Amazon, and I will link all the things that I can link below as soon as I can. So it's taken me a few days. I wanted to have this uploaded by Monday, but it's taken me a few days to be able to get to this stage. And then here is the first time that I pulled it out. So I pulled out the middle, and then there's the little stowaway. So I pulled out the middle palette, and then I would have that to the side, and then I was able to just use that palette and paint on the watercolor paper in the TN. And I'm not sure if you saw there, but I'll show you again. I had a just piece of plastic. It's just from like a sticker sheet, when they come and they're sort of in those plastic bags. And I just used that in the middle of the pallet to keep that from, like when you close it up and if it's wet, it's not going to go anywhere. And then also you can use that plastic bag for mixing as well or anything like that. So I'm just showing you here. I really love watching the flight path and just seeing how, far along we've gone, because it's not a very long trip. It just ended up being long because we, had all these delays, and we ended up having them both ways as well. So the other thing I thought I would do is upload another version of this that's just got music accompaniment. So once you've kind of heard this one and you've talked through it, if you do want to go back and just look at the imagery and just sort of have some relaxing music behind it, I'll upload that as well, because I got a really nice comment, and thank you all for your really nice comments. So sometimes I'm just not sure, and you can see I didn't even bother pulling out the sort of bed there. I just slept right on the couch. So and then here we are in Salt Lake City the next morning with all the blossom trees and everything, and some artwork in the airport there. But I got a really nice comment saying that one of my videos was relaxing, which is something that I had never kind of considered that they could be. So because it's always quite a stress for me, but I want to sort of make them like that for you. So I will upload another one just with musical accompaniment. And then here I'm just showing you some presents that I got to bring home for everyone, and I really love, that's kind of one of my favorite parts of the trip. So it was like a business trip, but I was able to get to this shop, and it's called Children's Hour if you've ever been to or you're in Salt Lake. And it's one of those shops that's a really delicious sensory experience. Like you go in there and there's little piles of all kinds of things from ceiling to floor. So I really love that shop, and then was able to get a few nice things in there. And then from there we went back to the airport, and we ended up having another 7-hour delay or something like that. So or 6-hour delay, but it ended up being sort of 7 hours by the time we took off. So we were supposed to get on the plane at 1, and then we didn't end up on there boarding until like 7, and then it still took a little while to take off again. So, and I think the reason for that was because there were really strong winds and headwinds and weather and all kinds of things like that. So on our descent, the pilot actually kept it was pretty scary. He kept sort of stopping the engine, and we were just sort of plummeting at a couple of points, and he lost control a little bit at one point. So we had a bit of a touch and go experience there, but kind of back to the motto, keep calm and keep calm and pray. So there was quite a lot of that going on. And then, but here I'm just showing you when we took off, there was some really, really nice clouds, and we ended up kind of going through cloud, and then it would kind of open into like a cavern of clouds. It was really, really pretty, and the light coming through was really nice at kind of sunset. And then here I'm just kind of showing you through kind of how I have almost kind of, and then we were there in the Notre Dame Cathedral. We saw that when we were getting food at the airport, so that was pretty disheartening and as well. And then but I'm just kind of showing you through a little bit of what I had kind of finished there by the end of the trip. And I think I did a little bit more sort of just at this point on the flight on the way home, and I still kind of haven't finished, but I ended up actually using up, so I just tore up 2 pieces of the watercolor paper there, and I ended up using just about that whole little booklet for this trip. So it was quite a nice amount of paper, and then I can take that out and I'll show you kind of once I get the, you know, the booklet finished and everything, and how I can attach that to future booklets and how I can store that and everything. And I ended up actually using that little bit of plastic for so when I was going to turn the page, if that page was still wet, I would just put that in there, and then it wouldn't sort of mark the page opposite, if that makes sense. And so here we are just on the way home. I'm just kind of showing you a few little snippets of that. And I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and thanks for coming along on a little journey with me and my TN, and I will see you in my next video. Bye for now.